So let me explain. Ladies and gentlemen, I was contacted by someone who offered to draw some stuff for me, and what you're seeing in front of you are the new owl stills that I am going to be using, and they were drawn for me by a very lovely person by the name of Goblin Simp. Great name. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see the final product for yourselves. If this is something that you like, and you want some stuff drawn for yourself, they currently have open commissions. Just hit them up on Instagram where you can see even more stuff that they've done. Also leaving links to their YouTube channel and Twitch channel, where they just started streaming for the first time not too long ago. If you would be so kind, head on over, give them some love. Want to hear some cringe? I found my fanfiction. I wrote it in pencil. Well, I mean, that's good. If you're writing on paper, if you're writing on loose paper, you should write in pencil. Because you are going to make a lot of spelling mistakes, especially in the very early drafts of your story. You are going to make a lot of mistakes. And someone should have fucking told me that, because I apparently did not use the fucking eraser. Oh, what the hell? Alright, so you can see how into this I was. Here's the cover page. There's a whole cover page, and right behind it, the table of contents. Oh man. I had 43 chapters? No? 27 and a bit. Doesn't sound right. Why is that not right? I remember now. So I stopped writing on loose paper, and I got an actual book that I started writing in. Which I threw out because I realized how cringe it was. So you get the actual cringe. Okay. That's good to know. I'm gonna switch back to the owl when I actually start reading, because that's easier to edit. And I like that format. There's more. What is this? I wrote more? This is different. This is the one I finished. Right. So so like halfway through writing this bit here, I stopped and I started writing something else. And I said, I should write a prologue for this thing. So that's what I did with this. And then I finished this. So I finished the prologue before the actual story. So I have two now. I'm starting a collection. Epilogue. It's sad that I haven't looked at this in like 10 years. And I look at it for like a few seconds and I already know what I was not really referencing, inspired by. That was terrible. God damn, I went into this. So this is a good way to sort of illustrate what I'm talking about when I say like plan things out and all that. It's like I wrote notes and ideas before I actually started writing them in the draft, the first draft. Yeah, I was one of those people that would like write a first draft or a rough draft and then a final draft and then the actual thing. It's like I kind of skipped one step because I went from that paper over to the book, and the book was supposed to be the final draft, but it is what it is. I remember writing this. I couldn't remember. It's like all of the little titles for the different monsters and the bosses, and I went through all of the games just to find them, and I wrote them down here so I knew like descriptors of those aren't very good notes. I'm just saying. The fuck is this? It's 3? That's 1. What? Continued. From fucking what? Goodness. Holy shit. I fucking draw that? I drew that in pen. Two. I found 2. We're getting a collection. Beginning. And that's a good start. More notes. More snippets of things before I put them in the actual story. And that's, again, what I mean by planning things out. It's like I wrote... So I would write, like, whatever... So the way that my mind works is that, like, for writing a story like this, I wouldn't have one constant flow, and I'm pretty sure this is the same with a lot of people, but I didn't have a constant flow. It's like beginning all the way over to the end in one solid thought. I would just have different ideas at different points, at different random points in the story, and I would write them down on different pieces of paper, and then if that seemed like a good idea that I wanted to keep, then I'd set that aside and I would go in the story with some more polish, because the way that I wrote it wasn't exactly great. And I used a goddamn semicolon. Oh, fuck me. I used it twice. No. Oh my god. What is wrong with me? It's not something. I used it again. I am making all sorts of discoveries here. More of that. The final battle. There we go. Oh, found 2 again. Beginning. End. Yay. What is this? More cringe. Heck yeah. I love that. So, get that out of here. So, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, prologue. Oh, order. That's good to have. I made a 5th one. I wrote that in pen. I guess I got more confident. Never do that. Stick with pencil, please. Do not write in pen. Don't write in pen because... Come here. Because this shit happens. All down the fucking page. Just use a goddamn pencil. What the fuck is this? This is part of 5. I don't remember this at all. Dude, I went fucking deep into this. I drew a map. I found most of my notes, I'm pretty sure this is not all of them, notes and scraps of ideas before they went into draft and then became part of the actual story. I'd write those ideas down, see if I liked it, and then put it in the story. And that's kind of what I mean whenever I talk about this stuff of like planning out stories. I'll talk about it when I'm the owl again, because I can't fucking think right now. Yeah, so that right there is exactly why I script myself. My mind goes in a million different directions all at the same time, and oddly enough, that makes it a little difficult to run with one train of thought and find the best way to say said train of thought. So what I was trying to say is that this is kind of what I mean by planning things out. If you're writing a story, have an idea of what that story is going to have in it. Oddly enough, that kind of helps a lot with knowing where to go next. Just writing out a table of contents is a way to do that, so you can visibly see the progression of your story and where it's going. All the things that happen at the beginning, middle, and end. And I mean this with all sincerity. Bubble graphs. These things that teachers make you use in English class writing projects, or at least they should be. If they fucking stop doing that, I'm gonna have a fucking hernia. These are extremely useful. This is literally a graph intended to group thoughts together and just get ideas on the fucking paper for you to see them before you even start writing. So you can see what ideas you want to keep and which ones actually don't sound all that great. And then, and I kind of took this to a ridiculous degree, but no shit, writing drafts of the story before writing the one that you intend to publish. Just writing a few drafts can help you eliminate a huge number of problems or mistakes in the story and allow you to correct them. And like I said, I went a little ridiculous with it for some of these things. If I had something that I wanted to put in the story and I had a whole thing in my head, I would write down whatever was in my head just to get it on paper. Then I could look at it and decide if I actually wanted that, if it sounded good before I put it in the draft. I made a fucking map and just wrote down random thoughts, but yeah, planning and drafting is an extremely important step that is often overlooked. And like, I get it. Fanfiction is just, hey, I want to write this thing to see how it goes. It's just a hobby thing. But that doesn't mean that you can't put in some effort. And before we start, I want to say this. Like, 1 or 2 people thought I was being a little too harsh in my last fanfiction video. Y'all, I was being nice. I don't have to hold back for this one, because I'm the one that wrote it. I don't give a fuck about what I say. So how about we dive into this prologue and first chapter, and I'm telling you right now, you're not prepared for this. Prologue. Past events. One year, a young swordsman set out on a journey to save the land of Hyrule from an evil king. In the process of doing so, he defeated a phantom shadow beast named Bongo Bongo. The swordsman thought he'd killed Bongo Bongo, but what he didn't realize was that phantoms don't die easily, for Bongo Bongo still lives, and he is planning revenge. A year later, the swordsman set out on another quest to save Hyrule from another realm called the Twilight. In this quest, though, someone or something came along, a Twily named Midna. And when Link, the swordsman, met her, she had the appearance of an imp, but in the end she went back to her original form, a young adult princess. Now what Link doesn't know is that he is about to go on a journey that will take every ounce of his courage and skill. For the Shadow Beast is in the most unlikely spot to be found, waiting to be let out. And the difficult part? Link hasn't spoken one word in 4 years. No, stop, hold on. We will get to this, alright? But we're gonna go through chapter 1 first, okay? We will get to it. I promise. Chapter 1, the House of Ordon. In all of Hyrule, there is one small village that holds a big secret. The village is called Ordon. and near the entrance to the woods is Link's house, and all the children visit Link every so often. Only a few people know that Link has a fairy named Navi, who would always help Link as much as possible. Link frequently goes into the actual village part of Ordon for whatever reason he has. No one really knows why. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? What? Link also has a horse named Epona, who has been his lifelong friend through many dangers. The secret that Ordon holds lies inside Link's house. Fucking surprise. A map, which leads to the location of the Master Sword, a very legendary blade. No one but Link knows where the Master Sword is. I mean, that's kind of factual. To Link, every day is the same. But not today. This time, many things are going to change. Fucking spoilers? There is only one change that Link knows about. Everyone in Ordon... What? Oh, everyone in Ordon knows that I haven't spoken in 4 years, thought Link. I guess it's time to give them a little surprise. And I'll start with my old friend Russell. With that, he walked out the door. Jesus Christ. Russell, like Link, is a very skilled swordsman, and he gives Link every bit of respect he has. He was in the middle of sword training when a kind but semi-deep voice behind him said, "Hello, Russell." He looked behind him and saw a smiling Link. Looking at him, he said, "Link, you spoke." And yeah, that's the end of chapter 1. I fucking told you weren't ready for this. Alright, so this should serve as a testament to the fact that even though I preach planning and drafting and proofreading and all the stuff that you're supposed to do, you still need to be kind of good at writing. So that means engaging writing, descriptive language, properly laying out the start of a story. Because the start of a story is the first impression. And first impressions in any regard are extremely important. And you'll notice that even with my meticulous planning and drafting, this shit is so bad. Like, you'll look at this and say to yourself, man, this guy can't write for shit. And I agree with you. And to make it worse, I remember when I wrote this, I thought it was good. No, it is not. It is not good. And right away, we got some problems. Fucking obviously. Firstly, this prologue isn't a fucking prologue. This is just telling you what's about to happen in the story, and it doesn't even make any fucking sense. You don't learn anything tangible, so we'll start with telling you what the actual scenario is supposed to be, because I do an absolute shit job of telling you. And if it sounds like I'm mad, it's because I am. Because I know I can do better than this. And this was seriously the best that I could do? So firstly, the scenario doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. I tried to tie the events of Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess. And even worse, I tried to make those things happen 1 year apart from each other. Let's talk about why this shit doesn't fucking work that way. And I don't even have to bring up the bullshit timeline thing. Ocarina of Time ends with Link kicking the absolute shit out of Ganondorf, and the sages sealing him away in the Sacred Realm with the Triforce of Power. After that, Link travels far away from Hyrule in search of his fairy, Navi, who fucking left at the end of Ocarina of Time. And it is theorized that somewhere along the way here, he died because the entire game has a huge emphasis on the darker subjects like death, remorse, regret. It's a hell of a game. If you haven't played it, you need to. In Twilight Princess, ignoring the fact that the landscape just completely fucking changes, Link is now a teenager. He is a ranch hand, and he is no longer living with the Kokiri, the forest spirits that he was living with in Ocarina of Time. He is now living in a village called Ordon with actual people. And I don't give a fuck who you are. It is fucking impossible to go from a tiny plant child to a teenage knight in 1 fucking year. Just using basic fucking logic is enough to realize that, and that is not something that happened here. Even as just a first draft, this is pathetic. And that's also why I say if you're writing a fanfiction of a game series, might be a good idea to familiarize yourself with the game or games in the series. Like, if you go in a restaurant and the staff doesn't know what's on their own menu, that's kind of a bad look, right? Well, if you're writing a fanfiction about a game series and you don't know what happens in that game series, and there's something that happens in one of those games that directly contradicts or disproves something that you wrote, and it's really a case-by-case thing, but a majority of the time, that's not going to look good. And you end up with problems like this. And it's gonna be harsh to say, but let's just man the fuck up and call it what it is. That's incompetence. You actively have no idea what you're talking about, and I can confidently say that here because returning viewers know I keep saying over and over. And I just said it a minute ago, if you're going to write a fanfic about a game, then either play the game or get extremely familiar with it. Well, guess what? I wrote this back in high school. I played Ocarina of Time, never beat it. I never saw the ending. I don't think I ever got further than the Water Temple, and I didn't understand what the Triforce was or what it did. At that point in time, the only Zelda game that I played and completed was Twilight Princess. And this was the result. I thought I knew enough. I very clearly did not, as we will continue to see. And that's not a good look. It just isn't. Something else that isn't a good look, using fucking semicolons. Never, ever, ever use semicolons in story writing. This is a telltale sign that you do not understand what a fucking semicolon is or what it does. I'll say it again. Don't use a semicolon. Ever. The situations where you would use a semicolon and it wouldn't be more grammatically correct to just use a normal ass comma or just end the sentence and start a new one are extremely rare. In story writing, be that fanfictions or professionally, you are not going to have a situation where you will need to use a semicolon, and it will be more grammatically correct to either just use a normal comma or just start a new sentence. Do not use semicolons. You do not need to. Plot-wise, I'm okay with using, what's his name? Bongo Bongo as the antagonist because I'm fucking tired of Ganon. And I feel like out of all the things that I could have brought back to life, the idea of a phantom or a ghost not really being dead makes more sense, even though all of the bosses fucking disintegrate, but never mind that. And before we continue, I think this is as good a time as any for me to fucking talk about this. So why am I as harsh and as strict as I am when it comes to writing? Because proper writing is a skill that can be applied outside of story writing, applied in everyday life. Unlike math and science where you can get away with never using those things ever again, proper writing is kind of a different story. Things like proper grammar, proper sentence structure, proofreading and all that are things that can make you appear professional and competent, be that in a work environment or college. And a lot of jobs do need at least some degree of competent writing ability. If you turn in an application or a resume and the employer or a hiring agency can't fucking read it, you're probably not going to hear back from people, though this is kind of a bad example because the hiring market is complete shit right now, but you can do as much as you can to make sure that you aren't the one screwing you over, if that makes sense. And the sooner you learn these things, the easier it'll be for you down the line. So no, these fanfiction writers do not need to be on the level of someone like Tolkien, but simple things like grammar, structure, attention to detail, things just fucking making sense, and even just some minor planning are things that you should pay attention to, even on a hobbyist level, because those small things can be applied to other scenarios outside of writing, especially attention to detail. Like, I'm just saying, if I'm playing a game and I got subtitles on, and there's something misspelled there, or the voice actor says one thing and the subtitles say something entirely different, that's gonna stand out to me. And I know I ain't the only one that notices something like that. And everything that I have to say about this story is shit that I fucking wish people told me when I was writing this. Because while I didn't publish this on the internet, I did give it to other people to read over. Now, at least for the semicolon bullshit, it looks like I either wised up a bit or someone told me to cut it out, because I have two versions of the first chapter. The first one has semicolons, the other one doesn't. And there doesn't appear to be any semicolons in the rest of the story that I have here, so I'm gonna guess someone told me to cut it out. As they should. Using semicolons is fucking stupid. And I would have been mad if someone let me get away with that shit. And then, let's address the biggest elephant in the room. Holy fucking shit, are these things short. Doesn't matter how long the prologue is, that can be as long or as short as you want, and it can be skipped sometimes. But apparently my idea of a chapter is the front side of one singular piece of paper at minimum. If I'm getting along, well, buddy, we're gonna have to use the front and the back of the paper. No, that's not a fucking chapter. You barely even scraped the surface of having enough content to make a chapter. One fucking page was seriously the best that I could do? No, if you're gonna call that a chapter, it needs more. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after we continue a bit. Alright. Jesus Christ, these chapters are really fucking short. I wish I could remember if I expanded these in the final version, because it's honestly baffling. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're gonna look at chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, chapter 2. Link talks. After a brief conversation, it was apparent that Russell told the whole village that after 4 years of silence, Link finally spoke. We know how fucking long it's been. Because that night, everyone, even the mayor, came to Link's house just to hear him speak. He rarely slept at night because when he does, it's always the same dream. Him and Princess Zelda in the Gerudo Desert at the top of the Spirit Temple seeing Midna before she goes back. Fucking tense shift. Oh my fucking god. Do not shift tenses in the middle of a story. If it's in the past, make sure the entire story is in the past. It uses past tense. If it's going to be in the present, use the present tense. Do not switch. It's fucking great because I just knew that I would see it at some point in here. And now I was fucking right. Before she goes back to the Twilight, her home. And right after she leaves with the help of the Mirror of Twilight, it shatters, meaning Midna cannot return. Link thought, even though Midna is an adult, I still remember her as an imp. Then there came a knocking at the door. He answered the door, looked down, and saw a small, familiar-looking Twily staring up at him. Link said, "Midna?" ? Period. Then Link kneeled down and hugged her. Chapter 3. Yeah, that's the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3. Surprise visit. "Hello, Link," Midna said. "It's about time you learned to talk. How did you get here?" "The Mirror of Twilight was destroyed," said Link. "And why are you back in your imp form?" "I'll explain everything, but first, can I come in?" asked Midna. "Oh, yes, of course," Link said. In her adult form, Midna would walk in, but in her imp form, she glides. Okay. As she looked around, she said, "A strange but nice place. Why didn't you show me this when we came here?" she asked. Link said, "Because you were so demanding, I didn't have the time." Midna looked around once more. "Is there any place we can talk?" she asked. "Yeah, in the fucking house where you're standing." "Yes, He looked up, the top level. He said that. He said the top level. This is making me mad. In Link's house, there are 4 levels. The basement, main level, half level, and top level. That's a great way to fucking describe it. The half level is where he sleeps. The top level is for guests. And it has a small window. Oh, guys. It's almost like this isn't well written. Oh, Jesus Christ, listen to this. The way he gets to the half and top levels and the basement are by ladders. All wooden, of course. In fact, his whole house is made out of wood. On the top level, Midna looked at Link with sad eyes. She said, "Link, I'm sorry, but Xanta's back." In parentheses, Xant is the false ruler of Twilight. Oh, God. Link's eyes widened. What? He said. That's how I got here, Midna said, through Xant's magic. Once again, he blasted me with his powers, sending me to the Gerudo Desert, having an imp-like appearance, just like last time. But you destroyed Xant. I saw you, Link said. I know how it sounds, Link, but there's something different, Midna said. Xant didn't have the help of Ganondorf. Something else revived Xant. You can just say him. You don't have to say his name over and over. Fuck. Link put one hand on his forehead, eyes closed. He asked, "How is this possible?" I don't know, Midna said. But I do know that evil is going back into the temples to get... To get to Xant, we need to clear all of them out. She just knows that. Alright. Right, said Link. For starters, I need my old tunic. I can't go into temples with these Ordon clothes. Well, you know, might be a good idea to have some armor. That's fine. Probably could have said... You know what? Never mind. Do you still have them? Midna asked. Yes. I also need something else. I don't think I'm going to be able to go into the forest temple with a regular sword. I need the master sword. Midna asked. Do you even remember where it is? It hasn't been that long. Yes, I got a map, Link said. When do we leave? What? When do we leave? He asked. Tomorrow. I don't think it will be a good idea to go sword hunting in the dark, Midna said. Did I even establish that it's fucking dark out? Oh, yeah, I did. I said that night. Okay. That gets a pass. Hey, guess what? Chapter 4. Return of the Shadow Beast. That night, Midna had a dream. Although... What? What is this? Although she wished it was of Link. What the fuck? It was of a very dark place, and then she heard slow breathing, and then a low voice which said, "He made a mistake defeating me, for soon I will be free, and I will have my revenge. From the light comes the dark." Midna awoke. Maybe I should tell... It's really hard to fucking see. Hold on. Maybe... Where was I? I should tell Link about this in the morning, she thought. I do hope he trusts me a little, because I might need a lot of favors from him. Hey! We have a fucking paragraph! Look at that, I'm learning. That morning, Link got up silently, took his bow, and Hawkeye... Sorry, I got confused for a second. And went outside for target practice. For the first half, he practiced without the Hawkeye. The second half, he used it. Alright. He was right in the middle of training with a Hawkeye mask when Midna called, "Link!" He looked up and took the mask off. Oh my god. I put in parentheses, he looked up because to get to the front door, you have to climb a ladder. His house is inside of a tree. Guys, this is bad. Could you tell? Yes, he said. Can I talk to you about something? She asked. No, you can't. Yeah, hold on, he said. He raised his bow at a target high in a tree, notched an arrow, pulled back the string, released, and the arrow hit the target dead center. Link, holy fucking commas, Batman, Jesus Christ. I need to take a picture so that you can fucking see this, but Jesus Christ. Alright, Link, proud that he didn't use the Hawkeye, said to himself, "Bullseye." He holstered the bow, by putting his arm through the opening created by the bow and bowstring, rested the bow on his right shoulder. What? Climbed the ladder and went inside. Back on the top level. Are you sure? Asked Link. Yes, Midna said. Something said he made a mistake defeating me. I will be free and I will have my revenge. And it also said, from the light comes the dark, right? Link asked. Yes. Why? Asked Midna. There's something familiar about it, Link said. If I might make a suggestion, said a light and kind voice, then Navi the fairy appeared from the half level. From the half level, it looked like a small sphere of light with wings. Remember 4 years ago, Link, in the Shadow Temple? It said. That makes sense, Link said. But I don't think now is the time to worry about it, Link said. Now we have to get the Master Sword. Coming with us, Navi? Only always, Navi said. Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Path to the Temple of Time. Before Link, Midna, and Navi left, Link put on clothes made from a green tunic and gray pants given from a light spirit in the woods. And since Midna has many powers as a Twily, one of them is the power to store things without any baggage of any kind. When Link went to say goodbye to everyone in the village, Midna took the liberty of storing his bow, Hawkeye 2 claw shots, Zora tunic, and other equipment. And when Link came back, he got the map to the Master Sword, and he, Midna, and Navi left. You don't say. Link mounted Epona when he got outside and went into the woods. He led Midna and Navi out of the village. Who the fuck else would he lead out of there? Through the Ordon woods across a long bridge into the Farron woods. After a while, Midna said, "Isn't this the way to the Forest Temple?" "Yes," Link said. Midna glided up next to him. "I thought we were going to get the Master Sword," she said. "We are," he said. As though he rehearsed it, he pulled out... What? He pulled out the map, took one look at it, and veered off to the right, and then... they entered what was called the Lost Woods. "Link, are you sure about this?" Navi said. "Positive," said Link. "This is where the map comes in handy." He dismounted Epona and moved forward. "Stay close, both of you. It isn't called the Lost Woods for nothing," he said, and he led them through the woods. After a while, he stopped and looked around and looked at Midna and said, "Doesn't it seem a bit strange that nothing has attacked yet?" "A little," Midna said. "Could I have my bow?" asked Link. "Of course," said Midna. And the bow appeared in his hand, and he moved forward again. Then Navi asked, "Where is the Master Sword?" "In the Sacred Grove, home of the Temple of Time," Link said. They entered an archway, and they saw a large temple, almost brand new, and Midna said, "I thought these were ruins." Link said, "When you left, Midna, I returned to the Master Sword, and just before I left the Sacred Grove, the ruins raised and rebuilt the temple." Then he saw a figure standing in front of the temple, his back to them. So Link raised his bow, pulled back the string with the arrow attached, ready to release. And that's the end of chapter 5. Alright, so right away it seems painfully obvious that I did not understand the concept of pacing and grouping things together. I'm starting to figure out why the hell I have 45 chapters in the fucking table of contents. Put simply, these 4 chapters could have been merged into 1 chapter. Maybe leaving 5 for the next chapter, since we're actually leaving Ordon by then. Now, speaking of structure, paragraphs are things that are extremely useful for having a flow in a story, and also, breaking up the page so the reader isn't just looking at a wall of text. So, maybe you should fucking use some, Bowie, you goddamn idiot. You did it in chapter 1. Why are we regressing? And since we're talking about structure, here's something to keep in mind. It's important to have your dialogue separated from the main text so that readers can very clearly see that someone is talking and it isn't still part of the descriptive language. You can format it in whatever way you want, but generally, as long as there's some separation between the descriptive language, the storytelling language, and the characters actually talking, then yeah, that's fine. This is not how you do that. If you hand something like this to me, I'm gonna fucking throw it at you. And then, stating the fucking obvious here, this whole thing just needs to be completely rewritten. Like, this is actual trash. He gets to the places with ladders. Ladders are wooden. In fact, the whole house is wooden. What the fuck is this? Firstly, the time to describe Link's house would have been in the first chapter, since that would be our introductory chapter to the character and the world. And legit, just fucking doing this better. I mean, almost anything would be an improvement. Like, alright, let's say we have absolutely zero fucking subtlety and we're taking clear inspiration from Tolkien, right? And Ordon is the fucking Shire, right? So I would start by very lightly and briefly describing, peaceful life in Ordon. It's a little village, a little homey village, showing what Link has at home and what the stakes would be should he fail in whatever is about to happen. This nice, peaceful life would get absolutely fucked, right? And that would be when you describe the house, right? And just outside the village, there stands a word to suggest strength or protection or something, tree, with a small house built into it. And that's when you introduce Link, right? And last thing, if you use parentheses to describe things in your very first draft, considering that it's a first draft, I will be nice and say that's fine. That's a note to yourself, but it better not fucking be in the final copy. I need to very frequently remind myself that this was the first draft. This was literally one step above notes, but God, I could have done something better, okay? Let's just be clear about that. There is no hiding that. Now, let's tackle the premise. So, at the end of Twilight Princess, after all the bad things are dealt with and shit is no longer super fucked, Midna goes back to the Twilight Realm using the Mirror of Twilight, and she fully destroys the mirror, revealing that she is truly the ruler of the Twilight Realm, and it results in her bittersweet ending. I think the reaction to her showing back up again, albeit not executed well at all, is fine. And we're setting up a mystery and a reason to get them going, right? Zant has come back from the fucking dead despite getting popped like a goddamn balloon. I would fucking love to see my explanation for that one. But regardless, a bad dude is back, but this time he was different and Ganondorf isn't around, so something else is going on. And of course, we need to go to the temples to beat the bad things to make the cool thing happen. Because it's a fucking Zelda story. This is fine. What isn't fine is Link thinking he can't go into the forest temple with a normal ass sword when he literally fucking did it in the goddamn game. The game that, I'll remind people, I played and beat several times. I should have known that. Now, the plot point of Midna getting a warning in the form of a dream and Link and Navi knowing what it likely is. Firstly, if you're going to use a dream as a method of delivering a warning to a character, instead of just having whoever is giving the warning essentially just say, "Ooh, look at me, I'm evil," make it be an actual fucking warning. This would be an example of show don't tell. Instead of having something say, "This dude killed me. Big mistake, loser. Now it's my turn." You show something really, really bad. Maybe show a specific area, show all the people she cares about are dead, and have a way to hint at who the character could be. Essentially, do anything that isn't this. Also, another writing tip. From the light comes the dark. This is something that I heard and thought it was cool, so I thought it would be cool if I had it in the story. No! Do not insert things into the story just because you think it's cool. It needs a reason to be there. And the reason needs to make sense. Next, as I fucking pointed out, holy fucking commas, Batman. If you ever find yourself using this many commas, take a minute to step back, really look at it, and erase a few. Because spoiler alert, I should not have used this many commas. I did not need to. So now Navi joined the party. We'll just ignore the several reasons why this wouldn't be the fucking case. And we have the most poorly worded way to say that Link put on his tunic. He put on clothes made from a green tunic and pants. Just say the guy put the fucking tunic on, like it's not that hard. And lastly, Midna would absolutely not be confused as to where the Master Sword is. She knows where Link got it the first time. She was there! Oh my god, did I fucking play the game or not? Holy shit. I'm actually gonna skip ahead a little bit, because some of this is honestly painful to read. Like, if y'all really, really want the full story, well, full in the sense of what's in my hands here, then I can read it on my second channel and we can experience my misery together. But I'm not going to put all of y'all through this. Holy shit, this is bad. So I'm going to skip chapter 6, at least give you 7 and 8, and I'm doing that for a reason. And then we're going to skip 9 because it is simply fucking awful. It doesn't deserve to be read and made fun of. No, you don't understand. I put the fucking Kathoga in here for some fucking reason. I don't even remember why I had this thing in here. If you don't know, the Kathoga is the monster from the book and movie, The Relic. I'm actually speechless. It doesn't have anything to do with The Legend of Zelda or Nintendo. It doesn't even accidentally fit. I genuinely don't know what the hell I was thinking to make me believe that this would fit. I mean, that's a lie, I do know. I thought the creature was cool. And what did I say about adding something just because you think it's cool? That's right. Don't fucking do it. But, yeah, we'll skip chapter 9 and we'll jump back into where Link is about to fight Goma, this fucker. And then we will end at the market. Yeah. Alright, number 7, Link's Past. Here we go. While Link led the way back out of the Lost Woods, Midna was talking to Navi. Why did Link start talking after 4 years? Asked Midna. You really want to know? Asked Navi. Yes, Midna said. Navi began the story. 4 years ago in the Shadow Temple, Link walked into a room with large, arm-like stalks growing out of the ground. He went for a closer look and saw that there were real arms, but he got too close because the arms grabbed him and a beast popped out of the ground. Then I remembered that the arms and the beast made of a being called the Dead Hand, and there's more than one. Anyway, Link couldn't get free of the arm and the Dead Hand bit his neck, which cut through at least 5 vocal cords, but Jesus. It was enough to get Link to stop speaking. When he was done in the Shadow Temple, Link went to Sheik, and Sheik said that it would take at least 4 years to heal. So now you know, Navi said. I thought I caused him too much trouble, Midna said. His adventure with you was easy compared to what he's been through, Navi said. After a while, Midna said, I wish I wasn't so hard on him at first. Navi said, I think he likes you anyway. Midna glided ahead, faintly smiling. Suddenly, Link said, Welcome back to the known world. And now we head for the Forest Temple. And he led them up a hill and up a long path until they reached... Fuck me. Until they reached Doorway. Link pulled out a lantern, lit it, and went inside the temple, sword in hand, followed closely by Midna and then Navi. Link said, Navi, come up here. Navi came rushing towards him. Then he said, stay close to Midna. We don't want anything getting the best of us in here, and who knows what's settled in since the last time we've been here. Alright, firstly, what the fuck is a tiny ball of light gonna fucking do? And secondly, why did you call her over just to say, hey, stay close to this person that's back behind me? For fuck's sake. Chapter 8, Forest Temple. Link, Midna, and Navi were going through a long tunnel lit by Link's lantern, the Triforce symbol, and Navi's glow. Since the tunnel was so long, they had time for a little conversation. Oh boy. Link, Midna said, Navi told me why you were silent for 4 years. Really? Link said. Well, compared to the Dead Hand, dealing with you was easy. Midna waited a little and then asked, I guess I should try and take this a little seriously. Link, what was the boss you fought in the Shadow Temple? A shadow beast. It was probably the most vicious thing I fought, Link said. Why? I think he might be the one I heard in my dream, said Midna. I don't doubt it. I do know that some beasts don't die easily, but it seems very unlikely. I hope so, said Midna. Link sighed and said, oh no. Why? Why? Link sighed and said, Midna, I've been wondering something. You're asking me all these questions about my past, and I'm just wondering, do you like me? Midna smiled and said yes, and she glided a little closer to him.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so you'll notice that I don't really touch romance all that often. There's a reason for that. Jesus Christ. Just fucking shoot me now. They reached the end of the tunnel to see a large room filled with vines and platforms, and it seemed empty of enemies. Don't go yet, Link said, and he scanned the room. Lucky he did, because right where he would have to jump across a small broken bridge, a Skulltula, a large spider with a large skull on its back, was hanging right in the middle of the gap. Link grabbed his bow, but did not raise it because he felt the Skulltula wasn't the only thing in that room. He looked around again more carefully and saw goblins with bows in high places everywhere. Lucky he didn't go in, because if he did, he'd be dead. Instead of proceeding, he brought out his Hawkeye, kneeled down, put an arrow on the bowstring, put the Hawkeye on, and started shooting all the goblins. After he shot all the goblins, that was very action-packed. Next was the Skulltula. Link put one more arrow on the bowstring, took aim with the Hawkeye, released the arrow, and it hit the spider in the head, killing it. Link, Midna, and Navi moved through the room quickly. Who the fuck else would? It's almost like they're the only ones there. Went through a door and into a room with very little visibility and a very big beast. Okay, so we're gonna skip the next chapter. Chapter 10, Goma. The chamber that Link went into for the battle with the boss of the Forest Temple. Okay, hold the fuck on. Here's the thing. Don't treat your audience like they're fucking idiots, right? We know who all is in this little party here, so we don't need to keep saying who they are. We know where the fuck we are in general, the Forest Temple, so we don't need to keep saying that until the area changes. Readers are generally able to keep track of information like that, and constantly repeating it makes them feel like you think they aren't paying attention, which is borderline insulting them, which is something that you really shouldn't do. So, with that said, the chamber that Link went into for the battle with the boss of the Forest Temple was larger than any other room in that temple, with 4 pillars, one at each corner. Even though Midna is hiding in Link's shadow, she can still give him the equipment and weapons he needs. Thank you for just destroying the flow of the chapter by feeling the need to tell us this right now instead of earlier. Awesome choice. When Link entered the chamber, there wasn't an enemy of any kind to be seen, but Link felt uneasy at the fact that this seemed familiar. Then he had the feeling that something was watching him, and looked up towards the ceiling and saw the boss of the forest, and recognized it to be the giant spider named Goma. It had the body and legs of a spider, but had one eye in front, and it was about 50 times larger than a large Skulltula. Okay. Then Goma went toward one of the pillars and climbed down to challenge Link, which every boss of a temple does before it fights. When it got to the ground, it moved towards Link so the battle could begin. Only it didn't attack, it just stood still in front of Link. He recognized the action as letting him make the first move, so he took out his bow and aimed at Goma's eye. He knew that all it would do is paralyze Goma for a few minutes, and he released the arrow, officially starting the battle. The arrow hit the eye dead center. I would fucking hope so. It's point blank range, and the spider froze. Link took the opportunity to put his bow away, draw his sword, run at Goma, and attack it as much as he can. Another fucking tense shift. Until Goma unfreezes, and Link repeated the process until the 3rd time because it's a fucking Zelda story. Link ran at Goma with the Master Sword. He stabbed the eye with all his strength, killing it at last. But Link only had a couple seconds to breathe out a sigh of relief because just then the ground began to shake. Tense shifts really bother me. I know that it can be hard to kind of pick up sometimes, both in writing and reading it back. It can be a little difficult to identify, but once you start noticing it, you really start noticing it. It's not good. Don't do it. The wall to Link's right crumbled, and then, to Link's horrifying surprise, the Twilight Arachnid, Armogoma, appeared from where the wall stood. It's really hard to take this seriously. Chapter 11, Armogoma. Armogoma looked exactly like Goma, except the eye is on Armogoma's back with an eyelid. That's the end of that sentence, and we move on to a new paragraph, and then we don't have a paragraph after that. When Armogoma came into the boss chamber, it went over to a pillar and climbed up to the ceiling. When it stopped, Link saw a large eye on his back. and shot at it with his bow and hit the eye, and Armagoma fell to the ground on his back, and Link took out the megaton hammer, jumped on the spider, and brought the hammer down on its stomach. Link jumped down and Armagoma got up, climbed back up to the ceiling. The eye found Link and shot a laser-like beam at him. Yeah, damn, this is one hell of a spider. Link ran, then after a while he dove to the left, and before he hit the ground, he took out the bow, hit the ground, rolled on his back, held the bow sideways, and released an arrow right in the eye. Epic action scene. Armagoma fell again. Link took out the megaton hammer, brought the hammer down on the spider's head, killing it. Armagoma disappeared in a flash of white light, but the eye remained, and Link made short work of it by shooting it with a bomb arrow. And that's the end of the chapter. Like, even for a rough draft, this is just sad. Chapter 12, Strange Events. When all of Armagoma was destroyed, Link walked out of the forest temple with the help of the destroyed wall. When Link got outside to where the front of the temple is, he said, "Midna, Navi, come out here." Both appeared. "Did you two see what happened?" "Yeah, but what does it mean?" Midna asked. "Something brought Goma and Armagoma back from the dead," Link said. Midna looked horrified, as if she didn't fucking figure that out by seeing that they were alive in the first place. "Is that even possible?" she asked. "There are only two ways that I know of. The first," he raised his hand with the glowing Triforce symbol facing Midna and Navi, "is the Triforce, but I didn't see one on any of those two. The second way is a Phantom's power, which is the most likely way, and I defeated two," Link said. "It probably isn't a good idea to tell us about it here," Navi said. Link asked, "Where would you suggest? Back at my house?" "No, someplace wider," Navi said. At Link's questioning look, Navi said, "The Hyrule Market." And that's the end of Chapter 12. Chapter 13, Hyrule Market. "Navi, are you sure about this?" Link asked, as he, Midna, and Navi, who the fuck else, were moving through Ordon, heading toward the Hyrule field. Navi said, "Very sure. Everyone in Hyrule Market talks so much that none of them will hear us." Oh, man. "I hope so," Midna said. "Maybe they'll be blind too." "Why?" Link asked. "How often do you see a Twily like me wandering around? Just hide in Link's fucking shadow, Midna, like you've been doing," she said. "True, but it probably won't matter. A few Gorons showed up one time, remember?" Link said. No! 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 She just has to hide, like she's been doing the whole time throughout the entire fucking game. Oh, Jesus Christ. They got out of the forest and came to Hyrule Field, which is rather large, so Link called Epona with a curious whistle in the shape of a horseshoe. Epona came out of the forest and went to Link. He mounted the horse and at a great speed headed toward the Hyrule Market. Surprisingly, Midna and Navi were able to keep up with Link. When they got to the bridge to enter the market, Link dismounted Epona, and he, Midna, and Navi entered the Hyrule Market. And that is the end of the chapter titled Hyrule Market. Yeah. Okay, so first things first, we all understand that this draft is shittily written. Yes? We all agree on that. Like, this is complete garbage, and it should have been rewritten. Even as a fucking draft, it should have been rewritten. And I can report that I did rewrite it. I just don't have that version. And evidently, I must have thought that rewrite was also awful because I threw it away. But We all understand this, yes? So I don't need to waste your time going on a tangent every single time, yes? Cool. So let's talk about the more substantial stuff. So to start, I clearly tried to give Link a more tragic circumstance, right? So this kind of story would be called an AU story, or alternative universe. Because in the actual games, Link speaks just fine, we just don't ever hear him because he doesn't have a voice actor. The only games where he canonically doesn't speak much are Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And also the thing with trying to merge the events of Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, we already went over why that doesn't make sense, so I don't need to. Anyway, so for this story, Link couldn't speak because of an injury that he sustained, an enemy that you encounter in Ocarina of Time, and I think that's the only game where you see this guy. There's an enemy called Dead Hand, and it's just a room full of these stalk-like hands, and if they grab you, then the actual creature will appear and attack you, and he looks fucking freaky. Low-key, Zelda games can go kinda hard sometimes. Yeah, so I like the Dead Hand. I think it can be an interesting creature to deal with and obviously create some tension in a story if you use it correctly. And in this story, Link was severely injured by it. It caught him and just chomped right in the neck, severed the vocal cords. We can imply that it damn near tore his fucking throat out, right? So, let me read this again. Bit his neck, which cut at least 5 vocal cords, but it was enough to get him to stop speaking. Sheik said it would take 4 years to heal. So, you know, attention to detail is important, and I'm about to demonstrate why. 5 vocal cords, huh? So, you know, Link is not strictly speaking human. It is entirely possible that Hylians are basically like Vulcans and their fucking anatomy is completely different from humans. But I'm gonna take a big old gamble here and say that that's probably not the case, and that the anatomy probably is the same as a human's. So humans have 2 vocal cords. Do I need to go any further? Well, I can't, because I believe I wrote this in high school. I was in an anatomy class. Want to know how you can tell that someone didn't fucking pay attention to jack fucking shit? But, you know, just ignoring that, he got bit in the fucking neck by a thing that looks like that. Essentially ripped out his throat and he just walked it off. Bull fucking shit. That is not how that would work. He would be fucking dead. It's one thing if you have something like the Saw movie, right? Where Jigsaw has a fuck-off blade and slashes Detective Tapp across the neck. And it's very clear that it didn't cut super deep, but deep enough to leave a sizable scar. It's another thing entirely to have a creature with a jaw the size of a fucking bear trap just take a bite out of someone and just treat it like a flesh wound. And then there's the other part. Depending on the kind of damage, vocal cords will need surgery in order to heal properly. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that he didn't really get bitten, he just got slashed and the vocal cords have been severed. You know, could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet that might be a situation where you would need some kind of surgery for those to heal properly. And that's ignoring a supremely obvious mechanic that exists in this universe. Some form of healing liquid and fairies. If you're ever injured in a Zelda game, just pop a potion or stew or some milk and you'll heal right up. That's just how it works in this universe. That's part of this world's rules. Or if things are really bad, like if you fucking die and you happen to have a fairy with you, you get essentially an extra life. You're good to go. You don't need to fucking heal for 4 damn years if you have any of that stuff with you. But I mean, you know, that's probably the most egregious thing I do here. There's no way that it could get worse. Right? We're not gonna talk about that part. We're just gonna pretend that never fucking happened. You want to know why I'm not going to talk about it? Because I'm a horror guy. I don't talk about romance. I talk about people getting eviscerated. And yeah, then we skip over to chapter 10, the fight with Goma, because literally nothing happens in the Forest Temple. I have two layouts to choose from both games, and in my personal opinion, there is an obvious choice as to which one is the more interesting. But I don't do anything with it. The most I do is, there's some spiders, there's some goblins, he shoots them, the end. The exact definition of a wasted opportunity. There is some fucky shit that happens in the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. Alright. While narratively it would make sense since the story is supposed to take place after the events of Twilight Princess, so that version of Hyrule would be the more logical choice, we also can't just ignore the events from Ocarina of Time, and those temples were completely different. That's why doing something like this is really ill-advised, because there's too many inconsistencies that just fucks it all up. But anyway, both versions of those temples existed in this particular story. So a solution that I would have suggested is to merge them. You want something to suggest that things are supremely fucking weird? Well, have the layout of the temple from Twilight Princess, but also have the fucky shit from Ocarina of Time, and maybe add some rooms from that temple to the Twilight Princess one. And then, most importantly, have one of the characters call out that those rooms and those things shouldn't fucking be there. Because that will prompt people to think that in this story, this shit isn't fucking normal. That's kind of important. Now, I could get nitpicky and say that since we're including Ocarina of Time in this world, and we have Goma here, this is Goma. And I write, had the body and legs of a spider. What kind of fucked up spider did you think this could have been? When's the last time you saw a spider look like a damn hand? But I can be lenient just a little, because Goma appears in several Zelda games, and I can forgive people for thinking that it looks like a spider. I mean, like, I can see it. I'd be more inclined to say crab, though. And then, of course, here comes Twilight Princess making it an actual fucking spider, so I don't fucking know, dude. What I do know is what bad writing looks like. A giant spider crab monster walking its ass on down from the ceiling, squaring up with the invader, Link, and doing absolutely fucking nothing. He recognized it was letting him make the first move. No! But it's okay though, because Big Daddy Armagoma kicks down the wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man and strolls up. He knocks it off the ceiling and hits it with the hammer one time. Let me ask you something. If you're on top of a giant fuck-off spider and you have a hammer that can smash something with the force of 1,000 suns, would you only hit it once? Cause I wouldn't. I'm smashing the shit out of it. This is a circumstance where the video game thing does not translate well to actually story. You only hit the monster with the giant statue once because it's a fucking Zelda game. You have to do the thing 3 times cause, well, that's how the game is. In an actual traditional narrative, if there's a threat that you know is there to kill you, it's a situation where you need to kill this thing, otherwise you're dying. You're not gonna one-tap it. And yeah, apparently that whole thing warranted the front of 1 page, and once again, paragraphs entirely unnecessary. But oh-ho, we've got a bit of a mystery going on, ladies and gentlemen. See, something went and brought these things back to life, but what could do that? Link first mentions the Triforce, and that is purely just misunderstanding what the Triforce actually is, which is actually pretty common. Especially since Nintendo doesn't exactly help you and low-key kinda misleads you at some point. The Triforce in Ocarina of Time is a power left by the goddesses hidden in the sacred realm that has the ability to grant whoever gets it one wish, whatever that person desires, as long as that person is pure of heart or something like that. However, if someone's heart is not in balance and attempts to grab it, someone like Ganondorf, then the Triforce will separate into 3 pieces: wisdom, courage, and power. When Ganondorf attempted to get the Triforce, it split and he only obtained the Triforce of Power, the trait that Ganondorf displayed the most. The other two were given by destiny to Link and Zelda. Zelda with the Triforce of Wisdom, as that was the trait that she displayed the most, and Courage went to Link. But if we skip on over to Twilight Princess, things get fucky and arguably don't make any sense. The Triforce barely has any presence, and Ganondorf is not seeking its power to take over Hyrule. At the beginning of the game, Link already has the power of the Triforce of Courage, and the only thing that means is that he is one of the 3 people chosen by the gods, and that is what keeps him from turning into a spirit when he enters the Twilight. And since Zelda is also chosen by the gods and holds the Triforce of Wisdom, she is also spared from turning into a spirit. But unlike Link, she doesn't turn into a creature. Only Link does, for some fucking reason. But we ain't done yet, because Ganondorf is also in this game, and in this game, he was sentenced to death. However, he was also chosen by the gods and holds the Triforce of Power. And I guess that means he couldn't be killed or something? I don't fucking know. This shit is confusing, and Nintendo doesn't fucking help. So the second way is by way of a phantom, and I love how Link is just a fucking necromancer now and knows this. Also, not really, because the Re-Dead and the Gibdos are a thing that are naturally occurring somehow. Yeah, any of you who only played Tears of the Kingdom, yeah, the Gibdos aren't insects. They're mummies, which makes this decision really fucking odd, but whatever. But we have an idea of what might be doing this. But for some arbitrary reason, Navi says we can't talk about it outside the Forest Temple where nobody is, and apparently outside in a forest isn't wide enough? So let's talk about this at Hyrule Market. That is filled with people who can possibly overhear you. Okay, they all talk so much that no one will hear us, or just go somewhere where there aren't any people. Like Link's house. Needs to be wider. Bitch, you're a floating ball. This is why I say to do things that make logical sense when writing a story. Does it make sense to do something? Is there no better option that you could do instead? Go with the logical option, because if your concern is people overhearing you, then maybe you should go to a place where people won't hear you. And how wide of a space do you need? If your characters are just sitting down and talking, why would they need anything bigger than a small room? If you're putting them in a wide open field, have a logical reason for them to be there. Logic. The thing that I didn't fucking use when writing this garbage, because once again, I just used the front of one piece of paper for the chapter and apparently felt that all you needed to know in this chapter was they decided to go to the market, got on a horse, went to the fucking market. And I titled the chapter Hyrule Market. Make it make sense. How the fuck are we going to title the chapter Hyrule Market when we only just enter it at the end of the fucking chapter? If your title for the chapter is the name of a place, you're calling attention to the place, right? So obviously there's something significant about the place. Something probably happens there, right? That's usually what happens. And you will see that once again, this is a situation where this chapter should have been grouped with the next chapter. And that is one of the bigger problems with this fucking story if you haven't noticed. There are entirely too many chapters, and that happened because the chapters should have been mixed together. So we're gonna skip a bit more here. Really, all you need to know is Bongo Bongo might be the one responsible for bringing everyone back to life, but we won't know unless we go through all the dungeons, because it's a fucking Zelda story. Zant shows up and kidnaps Midna for some fucking reason. Navi just finds out that they're at Snow Peak in 3 minutes, which means I wanted them to be there, but I had absolutely no reason for this to happen. Link fights Zant. He enters Mary Sue territory. He doesn't get hurt at all when something probably should have happened by now. And then he doesn't win. No, seriously, he fights Zant for a little bit and then randomly decides to say, "Let Midna go or I'll hit you with this hammer," even though that's what he's been doing the entire fucking fight. And then Zant uses magic to knock him out. And when he wakes up, he's back at his house and Midna and Navi are with him. So Zant just let them go. So what the fuck was the point of kidnapping Midna? Spoiler alert, there wasn't a fucking point. There is no fucking point to this. Effectively nothing happened. I gave Link a new set of threads though for some reason, and apparently gave him a fucking mask. No, not these masks. This mask. Oh, and I also apparently gave him something called a Peacemaker. It's a weapon from Jak 2 and 3. Again, I don't fucking know. I put a fucking Balrog in the Fire Temple. I mean, the nerd side of me isn't going to say no to the Balrog, but only if it's done well. This wasn't done well, so no. Get the fucking Balrog out of this Legend of Zelda story. And yeah, we're at the Fire Temple, so let's pick up at the Fire Temple. Once inside the temple, there was a sudden rising heat. Well, no shit, it's called the Fire Temple. Then abruptly, Link's tunic changed color from green to yellow, but his mask remained the same. And due to wearing the mask, with the completed uniform, odd word for that getup, Link could not feel any heat. Be careful, both of you. The Fire Temple acts as a haven for fire slugs and Dodongos, Link warned. Okay, he put away the Peacemaker and took out the Master Sword and Hylian shield and set off through the cave-like temple. After a few hours, god damn, that's a giant fucking temple then, Link said, "Well, I guess the reason it's called the Fire Temple is obvious." The Goron said evil crept back into the temple, Midna said. "How come I can't see it?" Fire slugs and Dodongos try to avoid conflicts, so they hide in the walls, Link said. Yeah, alright. The only thing we should worry about is what is waiting in the boss chamber, but still, be careful about what you do, because the Dodongos will attack when they are startled. Then they came to a door, and Link felt that something more fierce than the Balrog was on the other side. Chapter 22, the Felatar and the crossbow. Just like the room of the Cathoga, it was dark. Wait, what? Hang on. Alright, I guess they went in the room. Then the room became brighter, but not in a good way. Fire flew in from all directions and it formed a demon that looked like a Balrog, but it was much larger. Link took out the Peacemaker, pressed the shockwave button, and hit the ground with the head of the weapon. But the energy used wasn't enough, so Link tried Energy Blast. Didn't work. Laser. Didn't work. Finally, he tried Nova. The energy factor went beyond the Master Sword, even the Triforce. The Peacemaker released a sphere of energy, which hung in the air for a few seconds, then shot straight at the beast. In parentheses, which incidentally was called the Felatar. Nice! Which was enough to paralyze it, then Link put the Peacemaker away, and without taking anything out, there's more commas here, without taking anything out, comma, ran at the Felatar, comma, jumped up, comma, grabbed it, comma, climbed up to its head, comma, took out his bow and shot a bomb arrow at his head, comma, killing it. Alright, so Link is just completely unfazed by an entire explosion right in front of him. Awesome. Link jumped off and landed on the ground, then something else caught his eye. It was a weapon called the crossbow, but there was a warning on it which read, "Beware, the scorpion is coming for you." Oh fuck yeah, here we go. Chapter 23, Scorpion's Domain. Raise your hand if some of you are seeing another problem. Link, do you know what or who the scorpion is? Navi asked as they exited the Felitor room. All I know is what he looks like, Link said. He has the same clothes as I do, yellow with black underneath, and his mask has the same metallic pattern as the one I'm wearing, only his is black. Well, at least we'll be able to tell the two of you apart, Midna said. There's only one problem. Scorpion cannot be killed, Link said. Oh boy. They entered a room that was just as hot as any of the other rooms, but instead of fire, it held wooden bridges. 'Cause that makes sense. But before Link moved forward, he removed his shield and sword, walked up to Midna and said, "Hold these." Scorpion prefers hand-to-hand combat, unfortunately. Just fucking shoot me now. Then he walked onto one of the bridges. Suddenly, a figure jumped off of one of the higher bridges. Railing. Did 3 forward flips. Oh my god, and landed in front of Link. God damn it, Scorpion has arrived. Ugh. Link was right. Both he and Scorpion did look alike. The only difference, why the fuck am I reading this, was what's the color of the mask and the eyes. Link's was a bright blue, and Scorpion's were just plain white. Almost instantly, the bridge spun around 90 degrees, keeping Link from going back where he came from. He has no choice but to fight Scorpion. Link's only weapons against this undead thing were the golden gauntlets. Golden gauntlets! And with that, the battle began. Oh god, ordinarily I would skip this, but I have to keep reading, and you will see why. Oh my god, Link punched Scorpion! Scorpion retaliated by kicking Link in the stomach, and it basically continued like that until Link punched Scorpion in the gut, sending him crashing into a lower bridge. Then a spearhead attached to a heavy cable shot out of Scorpion's right hand and smashed into the pole connected to the bridge that Link was on, and then Scorpion abruptly said, "Get over here," pulled on the cable, sending the bridge and Link crashing down to the ground. No, it gets better. On the ground floor, an uncomfortable number of skulls and bones could be seen, and at the sight of them, Link stood bolt upright, looked around, and saw Scorpion jump off the railing of the bridge, do 4 forward flips, and land a few feet away from Link. Then Scorpion pulled his mask off to reveal a skull underneath, but before he or Link could do anything more, another figure dropped down out of nowhere, punched Scorpion in the stomach, which sent him crashing into the room's wall. Then the figure turned around. He was wearing a uniform that looked similar to Link's, but it was black, and he had no mask, and a tannish belt. He had medium long hair that was kind of spiked at both sides. Well, well, well. The great Link in Scorpion's domain. You should be careful. A man can get killed in here, he said. He looked and sounded almost exactly like Link in almost every way. Who are you? Link asked. The stranger said, I am Hayden. Oh, guys, we're not done yet. Chapter 24. This is the last one that I'm reading. Fuck this shit. Chapter 24, Path of the Dodongos. The new member of the group, Hayden, led them out of Scorpion's domain. I guess that fucking fight is over now. And into yet another tunnel. Alright, you're with us. I figured that much out for myself. But where are you taking us? Link asked. To the chamber of the King Dodongo. But first, you need practice, Hayden replied. You put that warning on the crossbow, didn't you? Link said. Yes, I did. Well, I appreciate the help, pal, but I don't need it. Hayden turned around. You are far from ready. I can take you on, Link, and win. But please don't make me prove it. He turned back around. Link ran at Hayden, and Hayden turned quickly around, thrust his palm forward, and Hayden's palm connected with Link's forehead, which sent Link off his feet, and he fell to the ground on his back. Oh, Jesus Christ, during which a sound of thunder could be heard. Fuck yeah! Hayden kneeled down next to Link, and in a threatening tone, he said, This is your first and only warning. Do not test me, or you will die. Then he stood up and helped Link up. Alright, I guess I do need the help, Link said. Like I said. You are far from ready to face the king, Hayden said. So how do I get ready? Shoot regular Dodongos! How will you get them out? Hayden pointed down the tunnel. Get out of the tunnel, you don't want to be here when it happens. Then Link ran down and out of the tunnel. Then he took out the crossbow and aimed it at the tunnel. A low rumble came, then reptilian screeching, then hundreds of Dodongos flooded out of the tunnel. Link shot about 50, then panic overwhelmed him. Hayden! Link shouted. Then lightning struck every remaining Dodongo. Hayden jumped down from a ledge. If the fate of the world depends on you, we're doomed, he said. I don't know what happened, Link said. Well, the time has come, Hayden said. It's time you fought the King Dodongo. Yeah, so how do y'all think I knew about the self-insert fanfiction stuff? Because I should fucking know. And we'll get to the good juicy bit later. So firstly, Link wouldn't need to tell them what's in the fire temple because both Navi and Midna have been there. They would know already. Quickly moving on, Bowie, what is a Felatar? That's a great question. I don't know. And I apparently didn't have a good idea back then either, because all I did was just the Balrog, but bigger. And that means it's scary, right? No. Fuck. Oh, but it gets better. As if I didn't have enough lack of creativity. Just throw fucking Scorpion from Mortal Kombat in here, cause that makes sense. I mean, at least Mortal Kombat was a Nintendo game at one point, and Link just knows who this guy is, as if he's been a part of this world the whole time. There's no who the fuck is this, what the fuck is going on, this wasn't here before. Nah, we just know who this is. Not only do we know who this is, but we're gonna fist fight him because he prefers hand to hand. Who the fuck cares what he prefers? You're in a fight, you have a sword, stab the bitch. But no, I wanted this scene from the movie in here, so I just basically made it the movie scene. Don't fucking do that. Alright, but, nah, don't worry, who comes to save the day? The fucking self-insert OC, and instantly, essentially says, I'm better than you, bro. And then Link is doing this fucking thing with the Dodongos for some reason, and Link gets overwhelmed, and the OC saves the day. As I said in this video here, taking away from the main character, diminishing them, putting them in a low point that they wouldn't logically be in, just to prop up your own fucking character. Why am I mad? Because I fucking know better. And I still wrote this bullshit. Link as a character is essentially the embodiment of courage. He will, almost to a fault, charge in and not back down until the fight is done or he is dead on the ground. And out of everything that he as a character has faced, fucking Dodongos, these things are what get him. That is bullshit. That is disrespectful to the character and the IP. That is not handling the source material respectfully. That is making a mockery of this character and the overarching story. I'm not reading any more of this garbage. Fuck that. Someone should have seen this and told me to fucking quit. That was abysmal. The first time I read this, knowing more than I did, I saw the extent of how bad it was. And like I said, at the time, I thought this was good. I don't like how mistaken and unknowledgeable I was. And since then, I've always demanded more from me. This thing isn't good enough. It's not good enough. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Do more until you're absolutely sure you've made it the best that you could. Does that seem harsh? Does that seem unnecessary? Does that seem needlessly strict? Sure. But at the same time, I am also holding myself to a standard. And I am determined to maintain that standard in everything I do. I will be attentive. I will be logical. I will have things that make sense. I will be efficient. I will give you my best effort. This was not my best, and it never will be. And this will serve as a reminder for the result that I'll get if I don't try, if I don't put in effort. I will not lower my standards, because shit like this will be the result. And look, hindsight is always going to be 2020. You're never going to catch everything. Even if you do hand it off to someone to proofread, they probably won't catch everything. I understand that. And as long as you do better than the absolute lowest hanging fruit, then you're doing something right. And as far as I'm concerned, the lowest hanging fruit is what I just read. But I am still going to maintain and hold you to my standard. Because I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made. I want you to do better than me. Which honestly isn't hard. So in conclusion today, this was awful, and I'm glad that I know it's awful. A part of me wants to rewrite all of this and just see the difference, but another part of me just wants to let this burn. And yeah, that's all I got. Check out Goblin Simp if you can, and see ya.